To order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bastelli?
Here.
Mr. Palone?
Here.
Mr. Sirianni?
Yes.
Dr.
Here.
Sally?
Here.
Mrs. Billings?
Here.
And I hereby certify this meeting has been published in the newspapers in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Okay, first thing on our agenda is we're going to have the annual report of the Environmental Commission from Rich Garland.
So it's actually Rick.
Oh, it says Rich on
Yes, Rich would be the older folk. Would be my dad is Rich.
Right, okay.
So I'm here today to talk about actually the 2014 annual report. We're a little late. I also have with us today our newest member, Tiffany Hollingsworth, who's the secretary of the commission, who's going to talk about one of the events that we have coming up after we go through the annual report. So without going through each part bit by bit, 2014 was the beginning of the community forestry plan for the Environmental Commission, which since that time we've continued to work with the city, with DPW, and we hope to bring even more to you guys in regard to this plan in the coming months. Some of the things a little bit more current with that we're working on, continuing to work on designation of some heritage trees around the city, as well as looking to assist with some education of tree selection for new construction or areas that we're hoping to be able to assist in educating on some natural species and things that would be a good fit for our community. Also on here, we had our Earth Month celebration. I used my connection with Gregory School with my wife, who's a kindergarten teacher, and we had a really cool Earth Month celebration with all the kindergarten kids at Gregory School, where the afternoon was spent going to the different classes, and each one had different activities, including plantings. We had our Enviroscape, which shows lets kids be the rain and shows what happens when there's fertilizer and things on the grass and how it ends up in the ocean. We also, 2014, we had the plantings on Eleanor Avenue, which was an effort that was a big thank you to the city and DPW, as well as the commission and some volunteers from the public schools, as well as Whale Pond Brook Watershed Association. We had some movement within our commission. We had 3 of our longer-term members step down, but I think that's been interesting but good experience for us because we've had new blood come in since then, and as of very soon we'll be up to our full strength of 7 members. On here also is just a list of the cleanups that we did for 2014. So with that being said, I wanted to hand this over to Tiffany, who we have an event coming up in May, and Tiffany has spearheaded the putting together the creatives, as we called them, for advertising for this event. So I'll hand it over to her.
Thank you. Hi, so I'm Tiffany Hollingsworth. I started participating in the Environmental Commission in June 2015. So I started as my first project working, and I took charge of creating the creatives for the NJ Tree Recovery Campaign, also known as Seedlings Program. So this is for the state of New Jersey, working with the foundation and also NJ State of Forestry. So they offer to give seedlings for free, and then you distribute them to your residents. And we're targeting people that were affected by Sandy, specifically residents of North End. We feel that, since they faced a lot of the destruction and a lot of the direct effects of, several of the past several years of storms we've had, that they could really benefit from this program and would participate in it. So we're working to distribute a lot of creatives and advertisements and just literature surrounding the program and to get them to participate, specifically to North End residents. So that's what we're working on right now. And it will be May 7th. The DPW is helping with distribution. It's May 7th, 12 to 4 in the Senior Center parking lot. And the library is also helping us out as well. Participation in this.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for either of them?
Yeah, I probably should know. When is Earth Month? Which month?
April.
Thank you.
Yes. So Earth Day, I believe, is the 22nd.
Second.
Yeah. We'd like to just take the whole month.
Enjoy it.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Okay, the second thing on our agenda is the scheduling of budget hearings with the department heads. Mr. Morton, is there any time that's going to be best for you to start?
Best time we've come to determine between a couple departments and Kathy is next Wednesday, April 20th. Hopefully, you guys are available.
April 20th?
I'm good.
I have to work 5, 6, 5.
What day do you fly in?
I fly in the 20th, and I'm getting the times and my flight lanes.
Mary Jane, that work for you?
Whatever,
The 20th?
fine. It's a Wednesday?
Yes.
Do you want to pick a backup day, just in case?
21st
You got mediation up there.
I have
at night.
I have a meeting.
How about the following week, the 27th? Or is that too late?
We have to do it for the 26th council meeting.
Okay.
I'd like to introduce the budget.
The 20th? 20th's no good for Mary Jane either.
20th, not good?
How about the 18th, the Monday?
I have environmental commission in here.
Okay, that'll
We
work.
could vote them to the big room.
I have cable commission in there.
I have a library board meeting, I can't go.
Okay, 19th
The
is planning
19th?
board. 21st, I mean, I have a meeting, what time is it? I have a meeting with the Board of Ed.
25th,
Right.
the
Huh?
Monday. 25th, Monday.
I have
I
a
have
meeting
a,
that
I
night.
have a dinner that night.
We're busy people.
The 21st, I could put mediation in the big room only.
On Thursday night?
Mm-hmm.
I have a meeting that night, well, it's 6 to.
That's the meet and greet for the police academy. The
Right.
city's police academy, it's the meet and greet.
I had that down. We're gonna have to give them.
How about, maybe we're gonna have to do it on a Friday night, which I hate to do to people, but either the 15th or the 22nd.
15th, I'm not available. 22nd, I'm available.
22nd's okay with me.
22nd. Joy, 22nd? 22nd?
Yeah, I can do the 22nd.
That's Earth Day,
I could probably do the
that's what the
20th.
calendar says.
Let's dig a hole.
It's the first night of Passover.
What's
It's
what?
the first night of Passover.
Are we back to the 20th?
Yeah, Mary Jane can't do the 20th.
You can't do the 20th.
Boy.
22nd is fine with me. It's the first night of Passover.
Huh?
It's the first night of Passover.
Nothing this week?
I'm not available.
I mean, I don't know who's in, who would we do department wise? There's the boss.
What day we voted?
22nd, first night of Passover.
We lose any department heads.
Dr. Manning,
Don't schedule it around me, because any of the other dates. You know, I sat with Mike already for a couple hours today, going through all of other conversations with him. It's really bring you guys up. Your schedule's more important.
22nd, good?
2:30, so I could make it.
Yeah, but Mary Jane can't.
That's okay.
No, 22nd, you can't make the 20th. Joyce said she could make it
Yeah,
the
I
20th.
said it 3 times.
Okay,
22nd?
22nd,
Okay with the 22nd.
okay?
Can we start early?
Could we do like 5, 4,
That's good.
4 or 5 o'clock?
I
What,
work till 5, I can't get here till 5:30.
30,
I get
5:30?
here 5:30.
Okay.
All right, so 5:30 and 22nd.
Okay, 5:30, if I say you'll give us a schedule of the
Yeah, we'll
department
put it
heads? Okay.
Thank you. That's
You're
all I
welcome.
have.
You're welcome.
So, Mike, when will we be getting the budget then?
I'd like to have it out to you guys. It's just a backup sheet. It's like the 18th, that Monday. Give you almost a week to look at it. Oh, I'll email it
Bring
to
in
you.
5:30?
Yeah, can you?
Sure.
Yes.
I kind of wanted to email the whole package. Does anybody not like the email if I email the whole package?
The only problem with the email, it's difficult to read.
Yeah, I'd like the whole.
So you want the paper?
The package.
Yeah.
Paper. Email.
I'll have paper
When you get back.
when I back.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so that'll be on April 22nd at 5:30.
Yay.
Thank you. Review of the regular meeting agenda. Anyone have any comments regarding, or questions regarding the regular meeting agenda?
Lovely meeting.
I'd just like to discuss the 907 Ocean Avenue ordinance, but I can't do this one. Larry, the question I have is, I don't know why we're doing the easement. In other words, why are we vacating the easement? It seems to me that it's pretty clear cut that this was something that was almost 80 years ago, that it said upon completion. It was clearly temporary. So I'm going to assume that it was completed 80 years ago or 76 years ago, or whatever it was. So my understanding from some research that I've done, you know, through Google and so forth, is that these easements often just terminate. They'll terminate even without a clause that says upon completion, which this one does. So I guess my first question is, why are we bothering? And in other words, isn't it already done?
Well, I think the answer to your question, is it already done, is it's not, or they wouldn't be asking for it to be vacated. It didn't have a definitive end date in it. I believe it also has language about maintenance, and I think it said repair, but I'm trying to look.
Let's be clear, none of us knew about this. So the
Right.
person who's asking for it is the attorney for the property owner. So
Or the
that-
property
The property owner and the property owner's title company,
Right,
I
so I mean,
presume.
that's according to him, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a dispute that the easement shows up in the chain of title in the county clerk's office when the title company or anybody else goes and runs a search. This pops up, and it's a right that the city holds to utilize that property for purposes, the sole purpose of access to build and, I believe, maintain, whatever the language is there, the jetty. So it's still an open right that someday could potentially be used. You can't put sand there, technically the public can't walk through it, the guy can put a fence there if he wanted to. But if the city said, hey, we want to go and we got to do some work to this jetty, the city, under this document, would have the right to do that.
From 80 years ago.
From 80 years ago. It doesn't have an end date in it. It doesn't say perpetuity either, but it doesn't have an end date, so which means it's an open question.
And it also.
So I was just going to, to finish the thought, I'm sorry, was so, from his perspective, whether you do it or not is up to you, but from an owner's perspective, if I was an owner, I'd be like, okay, I bought this property, I'm going to invest X amount of dollars to build a house or whatever I'm going to do there, and at some point, somebody may have a right to go through my house, or I have to build the house in such a way that this right, which is still of record, can be accessed by the city. How do you do that?
Truck, they would have to build the house
A truck
around.
portal, something, you know, so,
Right.
that is, I'm sure that is why the title company and the owner would like to, however minuscule we may think the right is now, and insignificant, it's still there in the chain of title, and the whole purpose of the chain of title is so that 100 years from now, you know, people remember what rights were given and not given over the course of time of the property, so.
Okay, so again, it does say until completion. I would assume in 1938, they probably weren't referring to continuing with maintenance 80 years later. Would that probably be, because in other words, basically it was identifying that the purpose was to travel by foot or vehicle to get steel core and jetty material there.
You said the key word, that's the problem, you're assuming. We can't assume. All we can do is go by what words are in the actual chain of title, and they include maintaining.
Okay, so then my next question is, I mean, actually I had a couple of questions. The attorney himself identified that there's no particular place where this easement is. And
I
that,
believe that's correct. Yeah.
okay, so that it could be anywhere on the property, is that correct?
Right, it's not defined that it's 10 feet here, or 20 feet there, or 5
Okay.
feet, whatever it
And
is. Which
also-
means it's the entirety of the property.
And also, just in the 3 pages that the attorney sent us there, I see that there's another one identical, the last one on that 3rd page. So I'm going to assume that there are several, it would make sense, or it would be reasonable to assume that there are several of these easements out there, because whatever this construction project was at the time, right, was probably ongoing. Not ongoing, but I mean, it was probably a construction project that extended beyond that property. That's clear just from the 3 pages if you look at the last one. So then my question is, here we are as a council, 80 years later, are we opening up a can of worms that when we vacate this easement, well, everybody else might look at their properties and say, and then we're going to have to vacate all of them. And then we have to incur the expense of all the legal costs of going through that process. This council, they have to come before us with a council, and we have to vote on every easement. I mean, it seems to me that...
But we may even, on the flip side, they may have, within the 80 years, approached former council and had them lifted.
But we don't know that.
Yeah, but that, I don't know, I'm not willing to go down that street, the what if.
I don't know what other easements are out there that the city has or doesn't have. I mean, it would be up to each individual property owner who felt their property was encumbered in a way that they felt it necessary to deal with the easement. I mean, if this was a 5-foot easement on the northernly-most edge of the property, this may not be an issue. Because then the property owner could say, you know what, I'm going to build a fence, or I'm just not going to, or I'll just keep it grass. I'm not going to build my house in that 5 feet, or whatever they're going to put there. So I think to answer your question, Councilman, is it's a case-by-case specific review based on the property and the easement rights that exist or don't exist, and the city's use of those rights. I mean, the fact that the city hasn't used it or even remembered it existed for 80 years is indicative of something, as opposed to other public access areas or easements that are over properties that the city and the citizens use all the time. I mean, that are defined easements. I'm not talking about some mythical, we think we have the right to cross this. This is a defined easement, it's over a piece of property that is for a limited, specific purpose.
And that's why I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you on that point. I think clearly it has a very specific purpose, and I'm going to assume that that purpose was probably settled 75 years ago.
Well, then, it makes no sense. Well, I mean, look,
Well,
whatever you decide to do with the easement's up to you.
Yeah, no, I know, but let me ask you this. I mean, you would agree that a lot of these easements, or legally, if an easement is no longer serving the purpose that it was intended for, that easement can be terminated without vacating. I mean, anything I've read about 5 things here, I can quote them, actually. if you
Well, I'm
want.
not sure what they're saying in terms of terminating. The use may be gone, but the right to use is not, unless there's something in the chain of title that terminates it, or a court order that's recorded, something along those lines.
It may not also have been back in the day, 80 years ago, when that was written, that certain things were required as they are today.
Well, that may be. But I mean, the whole point of putting something in the chain of title of property is so that 30, 40, 50, 100 years later, it's clear what the rights and responsibilities are of the property owner and whoever they gave the easement to. When property's subdivided and they create the right for people in the back lots to get to the main street, either via an easement or a roadway or whatever, that's clear in the subdivision. And those maps or plats get filed in the county, and then the deeds get filed and they reference those rights, so that it's clear when that person sells to the next person, to the next person, and the next person, 4 generations later, there's no question that the owner up at the front by the street can't put a fence there and say you have no longer have the right to access your back lots.
So the current owner purchased this in 2013, right?
Whatever the date was.
So, and I know that Jimmy had said that there were at least 2 or 3 or more prior owners.
Oh, yeah, since
1938.
No doubt.
Why is this coming up in 216? Wouldn't that have been a title issue for for all of the property owners?
Well, I'm speculating, but I'm saying it depends what they want to do with the property. It's been big. I don't know when the last time there was a structure there.
Well, you said, Mr. Woolley, that there was a structure there in 1970, correct?
That's 1970.
So I don't know if there was a structure at the time this easement was granted.
This is Plaza Court, this is the lot south of Plaza Court, this is the lot you're talking about here.
Right.
So, if there was a structure there, I'm presuming that, particularly if it was from around the date of the
U-shaped
easement,
driveway.
it was clear where the area would be, not where the house was. The house predated the
Again, wouldn't this
easement.
issue have come up along the way if it was a true title issue?
But they
No, they
bought it.
People
can
could
still
buy
buy
it
it.
and it could be excluded from a title policy, meaning the title company will not cover a claim. Like if the city ever sued to use the easement, they can't come back to the title company. The title company said, we told you it was there, you decided to buy it anyway. So whether or not, it's always a title issue, because it's in the chain of title. Whether or not it's an important issue to a buyer varies on the buyer. I presume now, I don't know the buyer, but I presume now he or she wants to build a house, and it's an issue to them.
For whatever the reason that they bought the house, they could still buy it, knowing that there was this easement.
Yeah, of course.
It's not going to stop the
It won't,
sale.
it wouldn't stop, that's correct.
It won't
wouldn't
stop the sale, but they know that there is this.
There's knowledge that this is a defect in title, and there would be an issue with the title company as to what the title company would cover or not cover based on the title search. So the title company would say, as I said a minute ago, we are not going to insure you or defend you if the city comes back and says they want to use this easement, because you know it exists when you buy it, and we're not going to insure that risk.
Back in the day, go back 80 years ago, there were verbal agreements.
Not for either, this stuff had all
Do you
been
think there
writing.
wasn't a verbal agreement between that owner and the administration?
You mean to define where the easement area is?
Yes.
They're very well-
1930.
Could have been.
Let's talk about car seats for a child. They threw him. The laws back then, I'm sure, are not as detailed as they are today.
Well, title
issue, because this was a recorded easement.
Yes.
It's there for a reason.
Could it have been done better and more clearly?
Yeah.
Yes, no question. But we're looking hindsight 80 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Did I answer your question?
Joy?
Another question. So this property was acquired by this current owner in 2006,
No, I think it was 13.
13?
I believe that was what it was.
I think it's 2013.
It was a letter.
2013.
Yeah, I think,
That's the property here. Lot 59, lot 3. This is the
It
second.
goes all the way across.
Yeah.
I believe Mr. Jacobs, the attorney for the owner, sent a letter addressing some of the issues that were raised at the last public meeting. I'm just trying to see if, I didn't recall if he said when it was purchased, I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
I think the current owner purchased in 2013. There was an issue raised, the 2006 date came about because it was another transfer at that time. So there's been a number of intervening
Right.
owners.
He acquired 2013 for
Do we have
point number 7.
a date that fence went up?
No idea.
In number 7, as to the 2013 acquisition of the property. So that's when Mr. proposed.
When they put the fence up.
Could have been up before, or could have gone up when he got it.
Can I just confirm in my mind? The access is totally separate from the easement. The access that people are
beach
concerned about is a private access that the property owner is allowing them to do. It has nothing to do with public access.
Correct.
So even if we do agree to vacate this easement, that property owner can still let them have access if he chooses, or he can say no more. I'm gonna put a house up and no more.
That's correct. Even if you don't vacate the easement, he doesn't have to allow public access.
They're two separate. Two separate.
Completely two separate. One
I
has
spoke with
nothing to do with the
I spoke with
other.
Mr. Aaron this week, and he said most likely when they go to CAFRA for the building, at that point they would be the conversation would probably come up to
From
talk
the
about
DEP.
public access.
But remember, when it has been required.
If it's needed or if it's
Usually it's been required when there's been a multifamily construction such as Tackanassie or Ocean Cove or something like that. Or something we negotiated, like with the Jerome piece at the end of Park Avenue when we acquired that piece. And you do have a public access point
on Plaza and
on
Adams.
Plaza and Adams.
And this is the-
One's 100 feet, the Adams one is 100 feet, the other one is 200 feet from here. And you have 6 access points, or 6.5 if you want to call it Garfield Terrace, between Tackanassie Lake and the deal board.
If the council votes no and refuses to vacate this easement, are there legal ramifications for the property owner? Can he go to court on this?
Yeah, you could go to court and seek to have the court order vacating the easement. I would presume based upon lack of necessity, that it's run its course. There would be discovery as to its use and, hearing to that effect, but, anybody go to court about anything.
Right, yeah, that's true.
It would be accurate to say that anyone who is using this property now for access to the beach is trespassing on private property.
Yes,
Unless they
well,
have-
yes, but technically trespassing is if the owner's not allowing you to use it. So if the owner knows they're doing it and is still permitting it, it technically wouldn't be a trespass, but
But
in
it's up to
common
the
language,
owner.
yes, they're
And this
trespassing,
is the owner's,
100%.
The owner's privilege
the owner's privilege to do that.
to
100%.
allow people onto his land.
And I think that there is a misconception that if we vacate this easement, that fishermen will not be allowed to use the beach. That is misinformation, because they can still use the beach as long as they access it from those other points that we just discussed.
Correct.
Correct.
Adams or Plaza,
And
or
Pullman.
Pullman,
And as long as the property owner
or
allows
Park.
it.
or
He may say,
whatever.
fine,
He may allow it.
until I build something, go ahead.
Maybe they can buy the
Or
lot from the
Oak Brook Beach
owner.
Club, or Garfield Terrace if you're a fisherman.
And Larry, you understand that I agree with everything that's being said here, that it's two separate issues. Because clearly, for all we know, what we think, or what people may think is the current access point, may not even be the one that was
Right.
used back in 1938.
That's
I mean,
correct.
if there was a house that constructed there in 1970, whoever built the house might have said, let's put the driveway here. They could have been using the other side of the property for all we know.
And look, again, I'm not sticking up for the owner, but I think that's part of the concern on the owner's part, that it's not defined to a specific, if it was 3, like I said in the beginning, if it was 3 feet or 5 feet here, or here, or here, then the owner may not have to go through this.
What I still don't understand is why is this even an easement? It seems that it's more of an agreement, right? In other words, we're talking about
Because we're going on
this is
private
It's a recorded document,
And we're going once a private.
and it gives them the right, it gives other people the right to access through the owner's property. So once it's recorded, that creates the legal rights, and it doesn't just, our right may be extinguished under the terms of the written terms, but the cloud on the title doesn't go away until there's an action.
Technically, an easement is just a right in property, but it's not a complete right. You don't have the right to own the property or do whatever you want with it. But you have a limited, like a public utility. The water.
All of our properties have
Yeah, you have
easements.
easements. You have in the air, you have the wires from the pole to the house or the underground, the water, and the water company can come in and fix your pipe if they want, or fix the wires if you want. You can't build over where the water pipe is. There's a restriction on how you use your property. You can't put a pool there. You might have to relocate the water pipe and redo the easement. So it's a similar situation. You can put a shed there because it would impede their access to their pipe, which you've given them the right to access occasionally. They may never need to get on your property in 100 years, but if they need to, there's an easement there. I mean, it's a similar kind of thing.
One last thing, if for example, and again, this, we're going way ahead here. If somebody were to take this to court, let's say we were not to vacate it, right? They took it to court. Would your argument hold up? And again, I know you're just thinking here, well, it's okay, well, they still may be maintaining it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way.
You mean this, if on behalf of the city we argued to the judge?
You said, you know what, there's still, this clearly says upon completion in 1938, and you know what, they still might be maintaining it.
Well, yeah, I like to think I'm persuasive in court. There's a written document, there's a jetty there. I mean, they would say, the city hasn't used it in 80 years, and say, well, but we have the right to use it tomorrow if we want to. And I think I can make a pretty good argument.
Any more discussion?
Nope, I'm good.
Anything else on the regular agenda?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, just to let everyone know that we will be removing the accommodations for the 2 DPW employees, and that will carry to another meeting. I need a motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to adopt a resolution to go into executive session for the following items: contract negotiations, FEM tax exemption application, Black Ridge, Pier Village 3, Promenade Beach Club, interlocal agreement and with the finance department, litigation with Lepore, Kelly, Long Branch Partners, AFP 104 Corporation, and personnel matter, reappointment of LV Housing Authority member Carl Jones.
Second?
Second.
Yeah, literal.
I need a
Yes.
roll
Mr.
call.
Pastelli?
Yes.
Mr. Pallone?
Yes.
Mr. Siriani?
Yes.